Late at night, while you are asleep, the sugar bugs come out looking for a tasty treat. You did not brush, so your teeth are dirty. Here they come, 10, 20, maybe 30. All the sugar you have eaten in the day is left behind, and the sugar bugs yell, "Hooray!"
On today's episode, we'll be talking about a wonderful project aimed at raising $1 million in support of children affected by cancer. Carrie Wucinich is a registered dental hygienist who's written a book to help kids understand the importance of brushing, flossing, and keeping their teeth healthy. The book is called Where the Sugar Bugs Live. Before we dive in to learn more about the book and Carrie's ambitious goal to support children with cancer, I also want to introduce the inspiration behind Carrie's fundraising goal, Mary Ricciardi of Las Vegas, Nevada, who lost her son Cooper to leukemia in March 2016. Welcome, Mary and Carrie, to The Upbeat. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Well, let's begin, Mary, by asking you, tell us about Cooper. What was he like?
Oh, Cooper was just an amazing young man. He ended up getting sick when he was 15, but before that, he was kind of driving me crazy and very, energetic. And he was very interested in basketball. In his freshman year, he was on the team, and around December, January area, where he was starting to feel really in the middle of basketball season, where he was starting to feel really bad, really different. And I just was getting worried, like maybe he had mono or something of that nature, because he just wasn't himself. And he kept running a fever. He'd call me like in first period or text me and say, "Mom, can I come home? I'm just not feeling well." So that led us to more testing. They were very concerned, obviously, because he had lost 15 pounds, which normally doesn't happen when you're a 15-year-old. And on January 31st, 2013, he was diagnosed with leukemia. The next day he got a port put in, and the next day after that, he got chemo started. And that took us for 3.5 years of just a constant, battle. And he was doing actually quite well. After 2015, he went back to high school for his junior year, and he got sick again. He was starting to feel really sick, and we had to get more tests. We tried everything. We got him in this trial. We tried to get him there. And unfortunately, just with his counts being so low and at a zero, which means like his immune system is just awful. He just couldn't keep the infections at bay. He was the biggest warrior I'll ever meet in my life. He didn't lose his battle. He accomplished a lot in that time. And, so.
And he inspired others. When did he pass, Mary?
March 29th, 2016.
And this podcast is about perseverance and hope. And we often talk about that they don't really leave us. He hasn't really left you. He's moved on, but you're never without him, right? Do you feel him? Are there days when you feel that he's right there with you?
Oh, yeah.
All the time.
All the time. And I try not to cry, but, it's so hard. And for reals, like that was a really hard battle to walk through with your son. And it was the most hardest thing, but really the biggest battle is the after losing someone, because grief is dang hard. So I didn't do a lot afterwards, but at some point, I think it was around 2017, I just decided I need to get up and I'm going to start doing things. I'm going to start taking care of myself again, and I'm going to start being motivating to other people. And so I created my own supplement company, and it's called Warrior Strong Wellness. And we give a portion back to childhood cancer research, the research side, because that means so much to me, just because there isn't enough research.
You talked about the lack of funding for childhood cancers, and Carrie is a friend of yours. Tell me, Carrie, how did you come in contact with Mary?
I just had my son. He was 4 months old, Dominic, and my husband had said, "Hey, do you want to go to this gala that's benefiting childhood cancer?" I'm like, yes. It was probably one of the first times I'd been away from my son. So I got all dressed up and I was so excited. And I went there, and I remember seeing Mary. She had this like really pretty dress on, but I didn't know, who she was. And so she got up and she spoke from the heart. And I was just sitting at the table, just in tears. Like what she had said just hit so deep in my heart because I just had become a mom. And I'll try not to get emotional too, but just the thought of losing a child just killed me. So that night I vowed I was going to do everything I could to help Mary. So we met for the first time, and then it's been a beautiful journey since then. We're the best of friends. I always turn to Mary. When I was writing this children's book, I messaged her and I said, Mary, I want to give a portion of my proceeds back to the kids. How should I even word it? Because I didn't want to, say anything that just be very respectful to the families and stuff. So she helped me get all that taken care of. And then since then, we've just been plugging away. And whenever she hears of a family in need, she's like, hey, this family can use some help. I'm like, I'm on it. Really.
Tell us about the book.
So I'm a dental hygienist. I've been in the dental industry since I was 18 years old. We would always speak about sugar bugs in dental offices that I'd worked in. I loved working in pediatric dental offices. It was my favorite place to be. So then my sister had my nephew. So I was really like, he was my first family member. I'm like, we need to make sure your teeth are perfect. So we'd always talk about sugar bugs. And I told my sister, that I should write a book. And then I had my own kids and realized how stubborn kids really are. So I started writing my manuscript and, using all my years of experience in the dental office and with my kids and with my nephew. And then I wanted something super fun and give kids something that they could look at and see what sugar bugs look like so they would want to brush. So that's that story. And then one morning I just woke up and I thought, if I could sell 1 million books, I can give $1 million to kids with like the families. And so that's where that came from. And so then I text Mary, I'm like, Mary, I'm on a mission. She's like,
and how is it going, Carrie? How is it going in that regard?
It's going really well. It's right now I'm in like this. So it was published March 31st, 2020. So it was during COVID. So that kind of put a damper on things, but I kept pushing. I got it into the children's hospitals here with Mary's help. She got me in touch with one of the nurses there. Cure for the Kids. I have books there. So I'm in the phase of building where people are learning about me and hearing about me. And so, I need to get the big push to get really going. But it's going well. I know I'm selling books. I'm helping kids. And
$1 from every book goes to help fight childhood cancer.
I'm sorry?
And $1 from every book goes to help fight childhood cancer. Where can people find it?
So it's available on yellowribbonbooks.com. That's my website. I'm on this mission to anybody that I reach. We can talk about teeth and dental health, but I also want them to know about these little warriors, these little kids who are fighting so hard, and their families who are equally fighting just as hard with them, So I wanted to be able to open up that conversation whenever I did say my website was Yellow Ribbon Books.
Gives her that opportunity to share and spread awareness.
Yep.
And the book is called Where the Sugar Bugs Live. Carrie, I wanted to thank you for participating in Kelly's Angels 2021 Mother Loving 5K as well. You live on the West Coast, but you were able to participate virtually because the pandemic made the event, our annual Mother's Day event, a virtual event. And we were honored to have people like you from every state in the country and Puerto Rico participate. So thank you.
Debbie had told me that, you guys had the goal of getting every state. So she was so cool. She was messaging me. She's like, who do you know in Montana? Who do you know here? Who do you know there? So I was kind of sending it out to people other hygienists that I knew in different states to see if they would just virtually do it with us. So that was super cool that you guys got every state.
Yeah, and thank you for participating. Now, in addition to wanting to raise money from the proceeds of the book, you also have another way the book can help children who are fighting cancer, right? Can you explain how dental hygiene comes into play for children undergoing chemotherapy?
Yes. So this is something, again, I've learned just helping families. Nobody's talking really about how it affects the mouth and the mouth sores and the kids that are throwing up and they have all the acid and all that kind of stuff. So another passion is helping kids get the products that they need to help them. And one little warrior I'm working with right now, her name is Heidi, and she doesn't want to use certain rinses because it makes her throw up. The chemo is creating that bad taste in her mouth and it changes the taste. So her mom's telling me, Carrie, she won't use it because it tastes like smoke, she says. So there's some amazing hygienists actually in the US that I've reached out to that are in children's hospitals doing my dream job, which would be helping the kids. And so they've been so awesome to help me help them. So I just text Catherine in Phoenix. I'm like, hey, is there a rinse other than chlorhexidine that we could try? And she's like, yeah, try this. The kids really like it. So it's very important for me to get my book to the kids in the hospitals because I want them to learn the importance of brushing. So if I can cheer them up and let them learn about sugar bugs and giggle and laugh and, have fun with the story, that just lights me up.
This girl right here, I mean, we could be crying all day, but she literally has the biggest heart I have ever seen in my entire life. And we were meant to be soul sisters. And, she encourages me too. And I think that, if you can have, out of all of this, we can have this beautiful story, come to a point where she could actually raise $1 million for families and sell 1 million books. Wow, that would just be incredible.
We're going to take a quick break now to thank our sponsors. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Carrie and Mary.
Support for the Upbeat comes from the Bobert Family Fund, which supports charitable organizations that efficiently use the resources they have to make a disproportionate impact on the world around them. The Saratoga Casino Hotel Foundation, which is on a mission to support charitable and public benefit organizations whose purpose is the betterment of the quality of life, health, and welfare of residents of Saratoga County, New York. And Stewart's Shops, an employee and family-owned convenience store chain serving eastern upstate New York and southwestern Vermont. If your business would like to be an underwriter and help Kelly's Angels, email us at theupbeatpod@gmail.com. Now back to my dad's conversation with Carrie and Mary.
They eat at your teeth, making holes so deep. Can you believe this is all while you sleep? The sugar bugs are happy, they got a tasty snack. Their bellies are full, but your teeth are black. There are 3 simple things that will get rid of them quick. Your toothbrush, your toothpaste, and your floss will do the trick.
Welcome back. I'm Mark Mulholland, and you're listening to The Upbeat, a podcast about perseverance and hope from Kelly's Angels. We're talking with author Carrie Wucinich about her book, Where the Sugar Bugs Live, and her friend Mary Rishardi, whose son Cooper passed away.
Mary, does Cooper have siblings?
Yes. I have 3 daughters.
3 daughters, older or younger than Cooper?
An older sister and another sister who's right under him, and then a younger one. So he was kind of in the middle.
How difficult was it for them to endure his illness and his passing?
It was incredibly hard. It still is incredibly hard. Unfortunately, grief doesn't go away, especially when you lose a sibling or a child. So it's an everyday thing that we just try every day to persevere and, try to get through each day and take one day at a time. But yeah, the sibling thing is a huge with the childhood cancer. So what Carrie's doing is amazing because not only is she going and helping the family helping the child that has cancer and the parents, but she's also, bringing joy to the children, that's siblings, and giving them some toys and things that just brighten their day. And people don't really realize what it's like to live in that childhood cancer world every single day. It's very difficult, not only financially, but just emotionally. And imagine, just having, not only is the parent trying to take care of their sick child, but then there's the other children that are kind of left behind because the mom is so interested in, not that she isn't interested, but you know what I mean? Yeah, she's trying to focus on the one that's sick and be with them at all their appointments. I mean, sometimes we would be at the doctor's office 5 times a week, or we would stay in a hospital for 1 week and then be home for a week, in and out of the hospital. Or if counts went down, then we would be in the hospital for a month at a time or more. And when we were at City of Hope, it was 6 months straight of living in the hospital. So I had to leave my family, and, my kids were just basically fending for themselves, like with my husband and having to work. And thankfully my children were a little older, but a lot of these families, it's so hard.
What you just said sounded like it could have been said at a board meeting of Kelly's Angels many years ago. We started out as an organization which helps children who've lost a parent to cancer. So we were focused solely on surviving children. And then after about a year in, we realized, wait, there are siblings who have experienced this loss, and they have taken a back seat often to the disease. So we should help them as well. So we morphed our mission to help both children who've suffered a loss of a parent, to also help siblings who've suffered a loss. So we do that as well here on the East Coast. What do you think, Mary, when you hear how much you and Cooper inspired Carrie?
Gave me the chills.
It really is a full circle moment for me, because never had I imagined that day. And granted, the day I was speaking, I had only lost my son probably maybe 5 months beforehand. And it was a couple days before his first birthday in heaven. So I was just probably should have said no to this. I was in a state of and I just really wanted people to understand, it came almost from a place of anger, how much that this meant to me, how important childhood cancer is, and people should listen, And I guess my speech definitely worked, because Carrie was, yes. But I don't even know what I said. I mean, I was probably still in shock, but I just feel like it's such a lesson in life to me, for everybody, that you just never know what your story can do to help someone else. And now Carrie has this amazing story of helping children that have cancer and their families. And her book, is going back to that, as well as helping kids with their, learning their dental health. And she just has this new passion that's been birthed inside of her. Yeah. And if it wasn't for me being brave that day, she wouldn't have been able to do that. So I'm proud of myself that I showed up, because I really didn't want to go. But I'm also really grateful, because I've been able to meet such a wonderful person, and we've become such good friends.
Mary, what advice do you have for other families? I hate to bring you back to sadness, but perhaps it's not. This is a podcast about perseverance and hope. What advice do you have for other families who've lost a child to cancer? How do you suggest others cope with that unimaginable grief?
Oh, well, the very first thing I would say is, just to stay in your own journey, and don't let anybody tell you you're not far enough along with your grief or anything like that. I think it's a journey. It's everybody's journey is different, and just make sure you're giving yourself, though, some self-care, and that's what I teach in my course, is, just helping them to really become a warrior themselves again, because when you lose a child, you lose a lot other things other than your child. You lose your confidence, you lose your self-worth sometimes. You might lose your identity, so grief is something that is something that I have had to walk through and still do even after 5 years. There's days where I wake up and I'm just in tears, and I don't even know why. It just this grief wave comes over me. But what keeps me going and what keeps me persevering is that I take care of myself. I eat the right foods. I go for walks. I exercise, and I do a lot of mindset work. And I think that is what is the key, I feel, to feeling better. Not that you'll ever be the same, but you'll definitely be able to persevere through that if you can do those things.
That's great advice. Now, if you're listening and want to help Carrie reach her goal of selling 1 million books so she can donate $1 million to childhood cancer, please go to yellowribbonbooks.com to purchase it. If you know a dental office or cancer center for children that may want to learn more about Carrie's book and her project, please email her at wherethesugarbugslivee@hotmail.com. Mary and Carrie, this has been great. Thanks for taking time for us, guys. I appreciate it. I really do.
Thank you so much.
On our next episode, we'll be talking money and legal matters. Finances and paperwork are the last things anyone wants to think about when losing a loved one. But there are some very important decisions that need to be made to ensure your family is taken care of. I'll be joined by a prominent attorney and financial expert to help sort it all out. We hope you'll tune in. Until next time, I'm Mark Mulholland. Take care and stay on The Upbeat.
If you enjoy The Upbeat, please subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. If you have topics you'd like us to cover on The Upbeat, please send your ideas to theupbeatpod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. On behalf of the volunteer board of Kelly's Angels and the families we help who are facing life-threatening conditions, thank you for listening to The Upbeat.
Nice job, McKenna Rose.
Thanks, Dad. You too.